Good evening, and welcome to the latest edition of the Cinema 9 podcast. It's a film podcast where we review movies, generally movies that are 5 years or older. I think the most recent film we've done is 8 or 9 years, so there's no bar, but we do like films from the past. That's why our main segment is Does It Hold Up? So welcome in. If you're listening to the podcast, thank you so much. If you're watching live, we appreciate your time and energy. Today, it's going to be a history of violence will be the main focus of the show, but before we get to that, let's talk to our co-host, our pals, Travis Roy. Hello, Travis. Good evening. Welcome, Detroit. How is Detroit today?
Detroit is good. I presently have 3 cop cars and 2 fire trucks parked outside the front of my house that have been really quiet so far. So let's hope they continue to be. I don't know what's going on with any of my neighbors, but I hope everything's okay. And if you hear a bunch of crazy
for something horrible,
there has been some honking and that kind of stuff. So if you hear anything, that's what's going on. You know as much as I do now. But other than that, I'm doing.
We'll keep our fingers crossed. Nothing terrible happens. There's a SWAT team outside my door, hoping they don't break it in. But
no, it's definitely going on. Like at like I think the next house over. I'm not sure, but it's somewhere in this near vicinity anyway. But it ain't me.
About society or something. Yeah, that's cool. All right.
Society.
Well, I hope the neighbors are doing well. Eric Brandstrom, you are back with us after your hiatus last week, which was for private business, private matters. You are now somebody who's known as a father. So what is it like? What's it like being a father?
I'm back now. I got a feeling I'll be able to watch a lot more movies because literally this routine when you have a baby is you feed it and it sleeps and then you do that again like every hour. So I'll just be sitting around watching movies.
That sounds awesome. Everybody I've talked to who had kids, they go on and on about how much more free time they have for like things like movies.
Cool.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, sometimes you can watch movies and sometimes you can't. So it's up to you. If you can find the time to introduce movies to your child's life, I think that's a blessing. You can share that together. And then as she gets older, the more movies you can watch together.
So as a cinephile, Eric, and also, congratulations in person. But what films are you thinking already about introducing your daughter to when she gets a little older?
Cronenberg's complete filmography by age 5, starting with Crash, the sexploitation, whatever the hell. What is Crash? Have you ever even seen it?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Actually,
I've never seen
Pretty
it.
good movie,
I'm really curious.
Yeah.
No, we're going classic. It's Spielberg, Lucas. It's all 80s stuff like I grew up with. I'm going to force her to have my opinions. Don't parents do that usually?
That's pretty much the whole point of having kids, from what I hear.
Okay.
See if you can turn on her heart light.
Turn on your heart light.
Let it. Yeah. So we're talking Neil Diamond before the show. Now heart light is stuck in her head.
Yes.
Neil Diamond got screwed, man. I mean, he wrote a good song. I feel like he's made a lot of money though. So
yeah, he's just fine. Yep.
It's all about publishing. That publishing money. It's crucial.
What about you? Any children? How you doing?
Any kids around here? Anybody?
Any new additions to the family?
No additions to the family. It's pretty quiet around here. The neighbors moved out, so now I'm truly alone back here. And I admit my paranoia has gone up a little bit over the last couple of days because I'm truly alone back here.
Utterly alone.
At night, this place it's intense, man. There's nothing. I'm in Livonia, but there's just nothing around here. It's weird. So, and there's a lot of snow. It's a real pain in the ass to get to my car now because it's a long sidewalk that no one will ever shovel. So
yeah, but let's not start complaining about our problems with the snow. I mean, there are people. Yeah, well, I'm just saying, there's some folks that got bigger problems than getting to their car.
I didn't even know what you're talking about.
Google Texas.
My whole family right now in West Virginia, they're almost all in the same house, which isn't great for COVID. But I mean, there's like 3 or 4 households that are together because there's only my aunt is the only one that has power, and everybody else is not. They've had like power for 2 days out of the last 13 or something like that, and broken up.
Wow.
Yeah,
that sounds awful.
Yeah, it sounds fucking awful. So if you're one of those people that somehow is hearing this without power, or if you hear it later, we're pulling for you.
We are. Yep.
We got you.
Hey, just like Tom Stahl, we'd dig you out of the snow if we could. I know Tom Stahl would. He's a good guy.
He's a community-minded individual,
Yeah. Every time it says Tom Stahl, I think of Nick Stahl immediately. And then I think of that gross-ass yellow face getting his balls busted open.
Never
Yellow
once crossed my
bastard.
mind. Yeah, the yellow bastard. Never crossed my mind.
Nick Stahl's taken a lot of risks in his career, and I think about it. He was in Bully, which is a very vulgar film. He was the yellow bastard. I mean,
are you kidding me again with the Bully? I mean, like
Bully.
this is just the new Paul Schrader. Like every fucking
really
episode,
is.
we talk about Nick Stahl. And
Tom Stahl was a character, so I thought of Nick Stahl.
Bully, and I refuse to watch it until you stop bringing it up for at least 4 episodes.
Well, I mean, you don't love Larry Clark either, so
I fucking hate Larry Clark.
see. Well, that's fine. We all bring our own opinions of this show. You're welcome to bring something new to the show anytime on the Cinema Night podcast.
I'll bring up Mordecai a few dozen more times, so that's fine.
Yeah,
it's all fair.
Well, that's fine.
Turn on your hot light.
All right, so this is the Cinema Night podcast, Cinema Night Pod, protonmail.com. Send us an email about your current movie woes. Are you kind of stuck in a rut? Feel like you haven't seen a good movie in a while? Need some suggestions? Well, this is the perfect place for you. We always give you quarantine viewing picks every week. And with that, Travis Roy, why don't you lead us in to this week's choices?
I'm going to, but I want to real quickly do a shout out since we thanked we greeted Eric, but we didn't thank Luke properly for his fantastic job he did last week. Yeah, quick shout out to Luke, and also kudos to both you and he for not plugging your podcast, folks. Check out Is It Safe, the podcast featuring Luke Horlbeck and Mike Govier and some other gentlemen I don't know, but it's and available wherever you listen to podcasts. And it's just just a meaty dive into any random subject with some interesting dudes. And
That's
some
true.
other quick notes, real quick,
smart.
about last episode. One, Luke and I were both correct about the golden hour and magic hour. The terms are used interchangeably. I was incorrect. It is Bill Nye. That's it. Not Nighy. I was wrong. It's just Bill Nye.
Wow.
The Y is silent. And
That's easy to
lastly,
use.
Derek Chanfranche is in fact Derek Cianfrance.
See in France.
Yay! See you in France. Cool. All
So
right,
I
got that
figured
one
I should-
right, so.
Yeah, I figured I should do a little homework.
So if
Come back
that
to-
director is telling you he's going to Paris, you can say, "Hey, Derek, see you in France."
Hey.
All those audio clips, and I don't even get a rim shot. Come on,
People are laughing. They're laughing.
Jesus! Thank you, Travis.
Woo. Laugh. So.
All right, so I watched some movies. I watched the biggest fucking turd of a shitty movie I've seen in a long time because I thought,
Oh boy.
hey, I really have been underplaying Bob Duvall, and after we did Falling Down recently, I figured I'd watch Wild Horses, one of the only other movies he's directed. If you guys have heard of this movie, this is one of the worst movies I've seen. Like it's just incredibly bad. So and his wife co-stars, and it's just James Franco. It's really, really, really bad. So don't watch that. I finally watched The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. I don't know why I never watched it before. I think I kind of just like. I don't know. I don't know what's happened with me with the Coen brothers. I love the Coen brothers, all the early stuff, but like for some reason, I just waited years on this. I sat on it for years, and I didn't think, oh fuck that. I was just not that interested. And then I watched it.
What'd you think?
I mean, it was uneven. It had some real highs and some real lows. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't watch it over and over again, but there were some parts that that were pretty good. I watched Jesus and the Black Messiah. Two real talented leads here. I think that both these guys, Daniel Kaluuya, I'm gonna try it. Daniel Kaluuya
Hallelujah.
and Lakeith Stanfield both are like some real promising up and comers. And there's been some Oscar talk for this, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. I mean, Eric, you and I both talked already. Like there's a trend, for a little bit of a spoiler here. There's a trend lately in cinema where I'm seeing like a lot of performers like in unnecessary makeup that's just distracting. You guys get what I'm saying with this?
Oh my gosh, like a fucking Star Trek villain. Old Marty.
Yeah, I mean, like the same thing happened with Jared Leto and Little Things, and like, I mean, sometimes makeup can be good, but like if you're like in this case, Marty Sheen is playing J. Edgar Hoover, but like I'm a historian of the 20th century. I know what J. Edgar Hoover looks like, but like honestly, like I don't know if he walked in here right now, I wouldn't know that I'd necessarily recognize him because he has such a long career that he looks so different throughout his career. But like at the end of the day, who gives a fuck what he looks like if you're going to distract me with this rubber nose? It's like De Niro in Irishman. Like no one knew that dude had blue eyes. We don't need you to have these distracting ass eye contacts in through the whole fucking movie. That's my rant. Anyway,
Someone described him online as looking like a melted candle. It's perfect.
It's awful. Anyway, so yeah, I'm sorry for the rant, but I got that out of the way. But Jesus and the Black Messiah was definitely worth checking out. I'm a Michael Showalter fan. I'm a fan of all things The State. I've watched Hello, My Name is Doris that he directed, starring Sally Field, which was a real sweet little film. I would recommend checking that out. I checked out the Framing Britney Spears documentary everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I wanted to see that.
I'm not a fan of her music, but I am a fan of her and freedom. So pulling for her on that one. I watched, I watched Down the Shore. I realized I've got to catch up on my Gandolfini movies. There's a few Gandolfini flicks I'd never seen, and this movie Down the Shore stars him and Famke Janssen, and like it's got a feel to it. It's on Tubi right now. It's got a little bit like a student film feel. It's a little bit not great in some ways. There's some actors in it, like one of the producers and one of the actors, and you can kind of like tell that he doesn't fit in with the rest of them, that kind of stuff in terms of the caliber of acting. But it was an interesting movie. If you're a Gandolfini fan, this was a somewhat different kind of story for being a slice of life picture. And
very somber.
You saw this?
Yeah, I recommended it a couple of months ago. It's a good acting showcase, but very somber, just a little limp in the story and the narrative.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it if you're not like kind of a hardcore Gandolfini fan. So like it's worth seeing, but not fantastic. I watched The Discovery, follow up to the one I love.
Love The Discovery.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'd been kind of craving some Jason Segel because he's so selective in his choices lately. And I wasn't ready to plop down the $20 to watch Your Friend, although I am looking forward to seeing that. So I watched The Discovery on Netflix finally, and it made me think, and I thought about it after, and sometimes I'm like, this is kind of a stretch, but it was worth seeing. It was pretty good. Last but not least, and I'll wrap it up. The big win of the week for me was Nocturnal Animals. I had not seen that. I obviously had heard things. I really didn't know what to expect with this movie. I get it and Velvet Buzzsaw mixed up in my head because it's like the art world and it's Gyllenhaal. Wow, Aaron, what's his name? Aaron Taylor Johnson. Really impressive role. Definitely the best thing I've seen him do yet. And overall, just a really satisfying and unique movie. And I wish I'd watched it sooner. That's what I got.
Amy Adams.
Amy Adams, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she's fantastic in it. But everybody is. I mean, this is the whole.
Michael Shannon's unfucking believable.
The story, yeah, he is. The story within the story is not super original, but the uniqueness of the way they twist it all together is just so. I can't think of a movie quite like it.
Yeah, Tom Ford is awesome, man. Did you see A Single Man? His one before that with Colin Firth.
I'm aware of it, but I
Single
Man, awesome. Yeah, really good.
Garbage. Tom Ford
Really
gets shit
good.
on a lot, and the Nocturnal Animals was dumped upon by a lot of people. But hey,
Oh well,
I'm glad you watched it. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. But I look forward to the day where I can sit down and watch it. Thank you for the lovely, lovely suggestions, Travis. Really appreciate that.
Okay.
Eric Bradstrom in Griffith, Indiana. What the hell have you been watching with your brand new lovely lady?
Ever since a friend of the show, Jim, sent me a YouTube link to the Royal Rumble in 1992, WWF, I can't explain myself. I've had this insatiable appetite for like early 90s WWF. For like 5 straight days, that's all I did was watch old WrestleManias and Royal Rumbles and legendary matches like Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels. The ladder match. I can't explain myself. I just could not. I got a little worried. I was like, I literally have to cut myself off. I'm going to watch this one match, and then that's it. I'm not going to watch anything else on YouTube. So after that fiasco, which was fun, I took another look at Masters of the Universe from 1987, our old favorite, Frank Langella, Skeletor. What do you mean, oh my God?
No, I have waited so very long.
Come on, dude.
Listen. We're post Star Wars, but we're pre 1989's Batman, which set the standard for comic book fantasy adaptations. And as far as I'm concerned, aside from the hokey stuff with Courtney Cox and Earth, the costume design, the production design,
get the fuck out of here, dude!
Makeup work. What?
Come on! Don't try to even legitimize this film.
I completely legitimize it. I think there's a lot of strong factors here. Langella's fucking awesome as Skeletor, a Shakespearean tone. Come on.
I think Langella is awesome as Skeletor. I think the movie stands as being unique and interesting, but more as a cultural artifact. Like it's fucking terrible, and it's nothing like its source material. It's really just inexplicable. It's like bizarrely bad and weird, but that's part of its charm.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying I dug the costumes. I like the production design. Attorney looked cool.
You're saying it's good. That's you said overall, despite the Courtney Cox storyline and all that bullshit. I mean, it's so
I'm a fan
garbage.
In hiding. I'm a fan in hiding, Mike.
Come out and be strong.
It's just like the Transformer series. Just this disservice to source materials where things could be. They don't have to be rewrites like word for word or shot for shots cartoon remakes. They just have to include the storyline and take us somewhere new with actual characters, not make up fucking Gwildor. Ruins everything. There's no Gwildor. That's what ruins it the most, man.
You know that character you like? We're going to make a character kind of like that character, but not as good as that character, and not give you the other character.
We're going to put in the effort, and we're going to do like makeup and shit, but it's not going to be the guy, you know. It's just going to be some asshole we made
We've talked about this before in the show. This is retread territory. Let's move on.
Okay. I watched another adaptation of some classic source material, the Sonic the Hedgehog film.
What'd you think?
I dug it.
I really dug it.
I was hearing great things, so I went in kind of with high expectations and came out just kind of liking it. I fucking was laughing out loud at Jim Carrey, and like when I saw that first trailer, I was like, "Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's over. You were doing this shit. He's funny in it."
It's one of the best things he's done in years. Yeah,
I dug the film. I took a look at Ethan Hawke's directorial debut, Blaze. It's on Netflix. It's about kind of a unknown country western singer, Blaze Foley, who passed away in 1989. It's not very good. It's very overconfident. It thinks it's a lot better than it is. The story, there's not much there, and it's like overly directed, and like it just looks like a commercial for like Hallmark. Not too good, even though I love my boy Ethan Hawke. I posted about Falling, Viggo Mortensen's directorial debut.
I watched that too, and I forgot to mention. I read your thing. Go ahead, but then I'd like to chime in.
While I was watching that, I liked it. I haven't really thought about it since. It was a little. Now that I look back on it, it was a bit too casual with its messages, but strong acting. And Viggo fucking composed the score, directs, and writes. So I do applaud his effort.
Yeah. I've thought about it a lot since I watched it. Actually, mostly I've thought about his direction, which surprised me. But like, I think that like it would have been. I was expecting like kind of an airy, artsy kind of like too much thing. Like I would expect Ethan Hawke to have too heavy a hand.
He definitely did.
Okay, as a director. But Viggo was, very restrained, very beautiful shots, and like I agree, well acted. I wouldn't mind seeing Lance Henriksen get an Oscar nom for this thing. To be honest with you,
he's pretty close.
Dodson, we've got Dodson here.
Dodson, yeah. See, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Kind of look like a secret. Also took a look at Judas and the Black Messiah. But the one issue I had, aside from the horrific makeup on Marty Sheen, was. When you look at the character of William O'Neill, really tragic figure, who was the informant, is that a spoiler?
Eugene O'Neill?
This was William O'Neill, who was a character in the movie. I had to dig it up, but the real fellow was 17 when all this went down, man. And Lakeith Stanfield, fucking incredible actor. He's in his
30
to late 20s. Yeah. I would have thought if you actually had essentially a kid playing that role, that would have upped the tension and the consequences.
No, I agree.
Than they did.
Daniel Kaluuya,
but other than that,
Daniel Kaluuya is, but he's also like a 35-year-old man, and Fred Hampton is 21. So
that's right. That's just so if you would have had that a little more age appropriate, it would have, for me, sent a much stronger signal about where our youth is now in terms of these types of causes, stuff like that. But well written, well directed, especially for a first time fucking filmmaker. This guy was on fire. Reminded me of the early Hughes Brothers films.
It's his second film. He had an earlier film like 10 years before. I'd never seen it, but just from his IMDb.
My big recommendation of the week before I go was Malcolm Marie. Malcolm and Marie on Netflix. John David Washington and Zendaya are fucking fantastic in the movie. This director's follow-up from Assassination Nation, which is getting a lot of buzz. I got to see it. Really strong acting, Mike. A great palate cleanser from Tenet, because the dude, let's be honest, he didn't have much of anything to do except try to say these lines with a straight face and Tenet. He puts on a fucking tour de force in this.
Still haven't seen it yet,
Yeah.
so
All right,
easy.
all right. Okay, Mike, and that's it.
Hey, before we move on from you, can you give us a quick synopsis, since you weren't here, of The Place Beyond the Pines? What you feel
Fucking
about it?
love it. I watched it, I think 2 years ago. It was even better than the first time I saw it. I remember I literally turned it off and I turned to Angela and said, I want to own this movie. I have to own this movie. I love it, man. The first time you see it, it's so jarring when you guys were right. What was it, 10, 14 years later? That's always tough in movies, but when you give it a second or a third watch, you fall right into it, and it definitely plays out like Once Upon a Time in America or some of the old school epics that's a little more palatable. I love The Place Beyond the Pines. It's fucking amazing.
Well
So
done,
it holds
sir.
up.
Yeah,
holds up.
definitely.
There it is. Late vote, but it counts. I got to say, I watched it again. I was like, I got to see this again. So I watched it again, and I was really surprised. I didn't know what was going to happen at the end still, which is something I didn't mention on the show. But I was like, oh my God, what's happening? Is that kid dead? And I didn't know. So as far as buying the bike, though, I don't know. I thought it was kind of dumb. But I also took a look at the crying again that you brought up, Travis. And I don't know. I mean, Eric, did you think his crying at the end, Bradley Cooper's crying, was not
I don't remember it being a problem. So next time I take a look, I'll notice. I don't remember it being a problem.
It was better than the child actor in the beginning of History of Violence, so I'll give him that.
Yeah. Wow.
She's terrible.
It's called
But
a
I'm glad.
teaser.
I'm
Not
actually
really a
glad she's
teaser.
terrible because it helps remind you that she's acting and this isn't really happening.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're dead.
Glad you're dead.
Okay, so yeah, Place Beyond the Pines. It's a good movie. I think you should watch it on occasion. I watched a dumb movie that I saw in the theater called American Reunion, which is a fourth installment. Technically, to me, it's the fourth installment of the American Pie series. I've never watched any of the ancillary, like there's all those National Lampoon Lampoon movies that I've never seen. I don't count those in the series. To me, there was American Pie 2, American Wedding, and then American Reunion, which happened in 2012. And I remember going to the theater being surprised, like, oh, I thought it was going to be terrible, and I kind of liked it. I'm also a huge sucker for the series. I freely admit that. It reminds me of high school and hijinks and stupid shit, so that's fine. I was thinking about how problematic, like, Stifler is now. Like, his character is... I was going to post a tweet about, hey, did Stifler get Me Too'd? And how many times did he get Me Too'd? Because this guy is just the worst. I mean, it's so bad. Even 8 years ago, when they did this one last time, oh, God, it is not a good look. I got to say, I don't even really know how to go from there, but it was awful. It was awful. And it wasn't good. So I want people to know that. I changed my mind on that movie.
Very solemn. Hey guys,
Yeah.
turns out American Reunion is not good. Mike's here to let you know.
I saw the first one once. That's it.
Yeah.
I remember when I lived at the Rod House and everybody went to see the first one in the theater and I stayed home because I didn't have any money. I was really sad. And then everybody came home like, oh, do this someday. I was like, oh, such a loser.
Very solid
Anyways,
again.
let's bring this up a bit here. Let's bring this up. So
Fucking bummer.
what a buzzkill this show has become. What else did I watch? I watched 19. Nope, not that one. I watched the.
Where's that list, Mike? You said you'd write them down.
I know. I can't see it. It's on the TV. I have 2 monitors here. I'm trying to look at it. There it is. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I watched Dude, Where's My Car, which is a great movie. It is so underrated. Okay. So underrated. Seriously, this movie. I might bring this into the fold because, like, it holds up. It's actually ahead of its time, and you'd be shocked to hear that. But there's actually some impressive like, gay rights stuff and trans stuff going on there. It's positive. Like, it's really cool. I was like, wow, this is oddly forward thinking. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck happened to the director, but yeah. It's also, they're funny. Ashton Kutcher and Sean William Scott together. It's a good time. I laughed. I had a few laughs. I watched Cocktail. I love watching Cocktail. I just like to throw it on. I love throwing Cocktail on every once in a while. That's right. I wish there was more Brian Brown in that movie. I want more Brian Brown and less of the bullshit. I think it would be a better movie, but I never read has anyone ever read the book?
No, and fuck you for asking.
Well, I thought
What kind of question is that?
because I'm just wondering how ridiculous the movie is compared to the source material. So.
Hold on. That is easily the most ridiculous question you've ever asked us in the history of this podcast. Anybody? You expected one or both of us to have read the book based on the film Cocktail?
No. Cocktail's based on a book, believe it or not. That movie's based on a book.
God.
Yeah.
Yes.
The book came first.
And both of the characters have Irish last names like Coughlin and Flanagan, which leads me to believe there's like a much more like actual Irish American story going on in the original source material, and they just like said, fuck it, whatever. We'll kind of have Brian Brown. You could think he has an accent, so he could be anybody, and then Brian Flanagan is just a Brian Flanagan. I don't know. It seems weird to me, but I'm actually curious in possibly reading it, and I'm not even like joking. So
Please
do it and
do.
let us know.
I will. I'll
stop
do
you,
it.
though.
Yeah.
Now, explain the plot of Cocktail for us.
It's about having dreams and they're not coming true. It's about the people who are looking to make a quick buck versus the people who want to work hard to make their life the American dream. It's about many directives of the American dream. That's how I see Cocktail.
Could you get more out of watching that or An American Tale?
I don't know. I haven't watched American Tale.
Bible or Coughlin?
Maybe I should fire that up and do a comparison. I'll do an essay on both of them.
Solid gold. All right.
It's the American dream. Fievel's trying to live the American dream. Yeah, that's true. There are no cats in America. It's a great song. Cocktail doesn't have a lot of great songs. There's a lot of 80s garbage music, and there's a lot of assholes in it. And Elizabeth Shue is just a beautiful woman. So I don't have any problem with that. And when she shows up again, and she'd been gone for so long, when she came back in Hamlet 2, I was like, oh, it's so good to have you back, Elizabeth Shue. That was great to see her come back in a film. And they made fun of her. She made fun of herself. She seemed to have a really great sense of humor about herself.
I pretty much fell in love with her in that movie.
I love
Yeah, I agree. By the way, Chris Deary says that Tom Cruise has a great jump shot. And that is true. He drains, I don't know if it's movie magic or not, but he drains like 6 shots in a row. It's pretty cool.
Chris, have you read the novel?
I'm asked on a very regular basis by my students if Ted Cruz is Tom Cruise's brother.
Wow.
Every time Ted Cruz comes up, it's like, no.
Are you shitting me?
In my government class, like, no, he's still not Tom Cruise's brother, guys.
Oh, they both Cruises have issues, but yeah, we'll leave it at that. I watched A Million Ways to Die in the West. I remember I watched it when it came out, and I hadn't seen it since. I'm like, I'm going to go back and watch this because I really didn't like it when I watched it.
You wanted to like it, though, right?
I did. I did. How do you feel about it now?
I gave it a second shot, and I was like, well, I shouldn't have done that.
Seth MacFarlane on screen is just so strange. Like, to see him without a cartoon character on the screen and you actually see him, it's just odd. And
yeah, I remember when he hosted the Oscars, it was like every joke just fizzled out. It was like,
well, no, I actually liked him as a host.
Yeah, I stand by that too. I thought he did a good job as Oscar host.
I liked him as a host, but as a main character driving a film as himself, truly, I don't know. He
That
doesn't
was the
have
problem. He should not have starred in a movie. Like, he needed.
Yes.
You don't just throw him out right
Ego
in the lead right off the bat. You make him like, the best friend or whatever.
Well, it's after Ted, and they're probably like, "Oh, dude, I can do this now." And we all try to push the boundaries. I applaud the effort, but he just doesn't have that panache on screen, in my opinion. So, but he does. Ted and stuff's perfect. I like Family Guy. I always did, and I always will. So I don't care what anybody says.
Okay.
But The Million Ways to Die in the West is a really great idea. It's just too bad he's the lead because all of the facts about how awful the West really was. And he starts to bring that out in the film. I love it all. And I laugh at some of the gags in the film. I just wish it was a better film.
get behind that comment.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. Nothing major to recommend. It was kind of a disappointing week for me in terms of the films I watched. Nothing. Oh! Okay, I do have one more recommendation. I do. Cedar Rapids. You guys ever seen Cedar Rapids?
Yeah, I saw that. It was pretty good. I like it. It helps.
Ed
Helms.
Yeah.
Ed Helms, John C. Reilly, Anne Heche, back from the dead. 2011 film. This is when, and I was thinking about this. This is after the crash of 2008 and stuff, and Hollywood started making more of these Midwestern focused, hey, we understand you, America. Gus Van Sant's movie, The Promised Land, with Matt Damon and John Krasinski. Yeah. This is all around that time. I swear, there's a few of these films. It's we get you, America. We're with you. It's weird. And it's a good movie. I like it. It's funny. It has interesting parts that keep you intrigued enough, and Stephen Root's in it. That's always a good time. So I think Cedar Rapids is a solid film that I would like to recommend to you if you have not seen it. And I also made me think of what are the best movies about a business conference? Because it's about an insurance conference, basically.
Right.
So. And the only one I could think of, Travis, was Big Kahuna. That's the only other one I was thinking.
The beginning of old school, I guess. I don't know.
That's good. That'll work. Okay.
Got nothing.
Yeah.
What a weird question.
It's just, there's not a lot of movies about
Very
business
slim
conferences.
subgenre.
All right, there it is. That's Turn on your heart. All right, that's our quarantine viewing picks for this week. Thank you for paying attention and giving us your time. Don't forget, Cinema9Pod at ProtonMail.com, Cinema9Pod. We have Instagram page. We have a Facebook page. We have a Twitter handle. You can really access us anywhere. If you feel more comfortable on a specific social media platform, by all means, join
We
us
haven't had
there.
an email in like 4 months, so do me a favor.
You're not supposed to say that.
Mom, if you're
Yeah, it's
listening,
true.
please. Come on.
Yeah, no emails. I will say, though, if you want to watch these and you don't want to just do the audio, you can always check out our YouTube channel where all of these are posted. So just type in Cinema9Pod and you can sit down. If you're having some coffee and you want to look at us for some god-awful reason, then by all means, they're there. They are there. I know, Travis, but this is what people do. They're weird. I've officially lost touch with like mainstream pop culture now. It's over. We do not understand it anymore.
Well, one of my favorite things about getting older is just more and more I'm unaware of who celebrities are. I'm like,
I know. It's really
What is it?
happening.
JFC Twigs or something. I'm not sure. I'm
There seems
not
to be
sure.
a lot of acronyms and like always
Yeah.
if there's a song
There's a
that's new,
number
it's
in
always
there.
featuring somebody with like a couple of letters. Very
And like
strange.
someone's birthday or like someone died or something. I'm like, fuck if I know.
It is true, man. It's just a part of the American
great.
culture. It's part of our society. Yes.
Less
I will say
malignant.
though, I was doing this thing where we had to pick a song from 2020 and part of like this music thing, and I was like, oh my god, I'm in trouble here. Yeah, I didn't have a lot to go on, and I felt like an asshole. I really did. But
Yeah, I could name like one recording artist from the past 10 years.
I looked up the NPR Top 100 songs of 2020. It was just nothing. I got none of it. I just kept going. I'm like, come on, I got to get one of these. I couldn't believe it. It was awful.
Yeah, I watched an entire season of this show. Forgive me, I don't know why I'm saying this. The Masked Singer, and then I'm like rooting for this one particular creature the entire season. I'm like, oh yeah, I know it's him. They finally unveil it. I have no fucking clue who this celebrity even is.
40 in white, 40 in white. Who the fuck are these people? 40 in white.
Ba ba ba.
I said, coffee!
That's right. It's time to get into it. It's time for our main event. This bout is scheduled for one fall. Gorilla Monsoon,
Yes, there you
Ted
go. Oh,
DiBiase, the
shit.
$1 Million Man, Ed Big and Vince McMahon are here. It's going to be a total debacle.
Thanks, Mike.
Yes,
now I'm
settle
back
in.
in.
Yeah, I'm into the early 90s wrestling. I can't hide from that. But it's time for us to talk about Does It Hold Up? 2005 film called History of Violence. This was a selection by Eric Branstrom, and it's a movie directed by David Cronenberg, starring, guess who? Our buddy. Right there,
Vegas
Vigo!
Viggo.
Vigo. Look how
Vigo.
sweet of him. What a sweet man. He could never hurt anybody. Look at that.
What an earnest haircut.
Yeah, look at that. He doesn't even, he's so dedicated to his family, he doesn't even comb his hair. It's amazing. So,
Is that dedication?
I'm pretty
I
sure.
love my family. I love my wife and kids.
I'm pretty sure he's like the kind of guy that his jeans have that gold stitching on the side. You know
Oh,
what
yeah.
I mean? Like he's
Oh,
definitely
yeah.
a gold stitching jeans guy.
Oh, you got Swoop, Lee,
Yeah.
whatever the fuck that is.
he lives
He
in
wears Lee
Indiana.
jeans.
Yeah, he does. He lives in Indiana. He wears Wranglers, probably, not Lee jeans.
Ah.
Anywho, yes, so we're going to talk about does it hold up or not? That's what we do every week on the show, in case you've never listened or viewed us. And Travis, take us back in time, man. 2005. This wasn't like 25 years ago. It was 15 plus years ago. Did you see this movie in the theater?
I should have thought about this before you asked because you always ask, but I don't remember if I saw it in theaters or not. I don't think I did. I know I saw it pretty early. I'm not one like I consider myself a Cronenberg fan, but I'm not
as hardcore as Luke though, dude.
I wouldn't dare to presume. Compare, I mean, to a lot, there's still like I've never seen Rabid. There's some of his earlier stuff I've still not even seen. But like I saw Existence, which was the first movie I saw when it was new, and I was like, this is so fucking like I was like, this is so weird. Didn't I have Elizabeth Shue?
I'm sorry. Existence just reminds me of the Rounders videotape we had at the dump. It was always on it was one of the previews. When we put the tape on, Existence. I can just see it right now. I never saw it, but that's all I know about it.
Well, I liked it. I saw it when it was out, and I kind of like followed, Cronenberg off and on. So I definitely saw this when it was new, and was very impressed by it. Watched it many times since, and it had not. I mean, I would say I watched it. I mean, it hadn't been in the past year since I watched it, but it had been maybe 2 or 3 years since I've seen it. It hadn't been that long.
Nice. I got a solid lock on this one. That's well done. Eric Brasham, I know you saw this in the theater. You're really excited about it.
When I first saw this at Brighton Cinema in 2005, I literally considered, I think me and the great Steve Laskowski, friend of the show, saw it. We seriously considered going right back in and just watching it again. The entire film's an exercise in brevity at like 95 minutes, I think. So, it's so good. Yeah, I almost just went right back in the theater. I watched it several times since. Got me back into David Cronenberg. Check out some of his, even before like fucking like video drama and all that shit. Watch it. I think you might like a film called The Brood, Travis.
Yeah, I need to see that one.
Evil little children. It's really fucked up. You might like
Emo?
It's on my list. But it's funny, it's 95, 96 minutes long or whatever. And like every time I see that, I'm amazed because I'm like, it feels like it's shorter.
Yeah.
It somehow feels like it's like an 80-minute movie.
Yeah, bizarre. It really does. And it's one of these that, me in long movies, it's one that I think could absolutely deserve and maybe even warrant another 30, 40 minutes. But I do like its trim nature.
I have a lock on mine. It's so great when I can truly recall the exact memory. And I got this one locked in. I rented it. And I got it delivered in the mail through my Blockbuster Online account in 2006 when I lived at Henry Street in Ann Arbor.
Oh, yeah.
And what? Henry Street's cool, yeah. Morgan pissed his pants there. People got drunk there. We had a good St. Patty's Day there once. That was fun. Nice picture of me and Travis in the kitchen. That was fun.
Fun memories.
Yeah, fun. So, yeah, I rented it online. And I popped it in, and I was like, whoa, this is an intense film. And I was like, cool. And I was glad I rented it. It was a positive experience for me. And I remember it had an impact, and I definitely have watched it many times since. Not like every year, but it's had plenty of viewings. And I'm not trying to give away anything yet there. I'm just telling you what life was like for me prior to this viewing. So we'll see what happens. No, I'm not leading you guys on anywhere yet. This could go in any direction. Of course, we always take a look at what the outsiders say, or the professionals, if you will. I don't know what you want to call them, but,
Big Des? What's Big Des have to say?
Oh, we'll get there. You know that.
No, I think he was with Dessen.
I think he was still active in 2005, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think so.
So did you guys look up the score on IMDb, or anybody care to get a guess?
Let's say 6.6.
Oh, I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna say 7.7.
Well, you went over. It's 7.4. Solid score with 224,000 plus reviews, which leads you to believe that this movie has been viewed by a decent amount of the population. And on Rotten Tomatoes, History of Violence is a film that some people wouldn't watch because the title says violence. It's scary, but 87% of the critics loved it. 87. That's a high praise. I think this is a big critics film, a pro critics film probably. But the audience was 76. Wasn't as into it as the critics, but it's still
not that far off. Yeah.
No, it's not like it's a nightmare or anything. But as far as critical review, we got a lot of people saying positive things. Like we said, overwhelming positive critical feedback. A lot of people saying things like, hey, the violence that enters the character's perfect domestic existence is permanent, and each act reveals truths about the people who use it and the audience who enjoys it.
Okay.
What does that mean? Anybody?
It sounds like it was late and his review was due in like 5 minutes and he jumped.
Too much wine. The review.
Way too much wine. The review.
Well, here's a way too much wine. The review. Here's a guy we've never had. Kurt Loder from MTV.
Oh
MTV News chimed in. What's Tabitha Soren think about this shit?
Say it like Kurt Loder, though. Whatever you're gonna say, you gotta say it like him.
Okay. I'm Kurt Loder for MTV News. A strange David Cronenberg movie, and not in the usual audaciously morbid way. A brooding, contemplative picture that's tough, tight, and masterfully controlled.
Now we're going to play the video for Smells Like Teen Spirit 20 times in a row.
Stay tuned to MTV News for the latest on anything important. I don't know. I don't know how to do
Here's
Kurt
Kennedy
Loder.
with some bullshit.
Matt Pinfield.
Let's send it over to Pauly Shore live at spring break.
Dan Cortez.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Dan Cortez.
Jolly Green Giant.
Step off, George. This one's called... I'm going to read this because this guy's from Lessons of Darkness. I don't even know. Nick Shager. Nick Shager from Lessons of Darkness. And it has a red star for top critic, by the way.
Oh, well, in that case.
Is this like a struggling Satanist website?
I don't know. I'm curious, though.
Anthony LaVey is like...
Probes are intrinsic attraction to violence with caustic incisiveness. Very simple.
Somebody's got a thesaurus.
Ooh, that's right. Jim Emerson of RogerEbert.com says, the film, based on a graphic novel, has a crackling sense of visual tension. Wow.
Yeah, you know what? I forgot this was based on a graphic novel, and the direction's so sparse and unique that you can almost see the panels while you're watching the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you do get a sense in a few places, and I don't know that it's great, to be honest. That you know what I mean? Like, but sometimes when you watch a movie where you're like, yeah, they clearly had like all of what do they call it? Like in the screens before, in pre-production, they do storyboards. Thank you. That's what I was groping for. Like they basically had all the storyboards made from him in advance, and then just shot that. Now I've not read History of Violence, and I don't think it's that harsh of a criticism, but
it's a list of cocktail,
right?
so there's a a couple places where you're like, yeah, it feels like kind of comic booky, not Ang Lee Hulk comic booky, but a little bit.
Yeah, there's definitely some deliberate intent related to the source material. Richard Roper said this is his most mainstream effort yet, but he's got those Cronenberg touches of violence. It doesn't glorify the violence. It's not gratuitous. It's sudden. It's shocking. It's not gratuitous? Okay. Well,
it's not gratuitous. I mean, not every movie is going to give you lots of movies are going to give you the headshot, but not all of them are going to give you the half a face gasping on the floor shot. Not every movie feels the need to take you there.
I said, coffee!
Yeah, coffee doesn't go so well. And here he is, Desson Thomson, ladies and gentlemen. Packed inside David Cronenberg's latest film, which presents itself as a gift-wrapped shoot-'em-up entertainment, is a sobering reflection on our culture's attitude towards violence.
Whew. You gotta love Des.
Not bad. That was a reasonable Desson review, I think. So
the reason we make jokes about why we like him so much because it's just funny, but in truth, the guy's usually pretty insightful.
I would concur. So anyway, yeah, so this is a movie. It's got people in it. It's directed by Cronenberg, and
that's it.
I think that covers it. It was a show. I was thinking about this whole this guy doesn't know who he is. So what do we take from this? I want to get you guys' feedback on. Hey, I tried to bury myself in the past, but I know who I am. But I'm trying to sell it so hard to you. It's really hard to forget yourself. You can't just forget a life. I don't care what he did. He says he goes out to the desert or whatever for 3 years to try to become Tom Stahl. But I had a hard time with him trying to forget this past.
Particularly this latest viewing for me, he spends a lot of the time uniquely earnest, and I buy into him as being Tom Stahl. I have more of a hard time as when he kind of becomes Joey at the end, because he does it so casually. I mean, he's driving to Philadelphia like he's on his way to fucking get some Wendy's.
Well, that's the point, I think, in a way, is that Joey's never been gone. He's right there. He is Joey. He is Tom. He's always like, you can't pretend. Well, you can talk about yourself in the third person all you want. It doesn't divide your past into two different people. He slips into that behavior easily because it's still him. And the 3 years that he spent becoming Tom and killing Joey, that was just like, you tell yourself. Everybody does things where they tell themselves things like,
Sure.
you're gonna I'm gonna whatever, like I'm gonna lose weight or I'm gonna be successful at my job, and you're I'm gonna feel differently about my religion, whatever, and you can force change in yourself, and that happens. And then he meets a good girl that gives him even more reason to stay motivated like that, and he becomes in touch with the genuine good nature in him, and it's no longer a performance. That's simply who he is. But he's still Joey, so it doesn't take much of a nudge for him to just be himself.
Okay, that's an interesting point. Yeah, you're right. You're always going to be who you are, no matter how much you try to bury the past. It's still in you. And I wonder, is Cronenberg trying to make this message about violence finds violence? Because the beginning scene is beautiful. I really like it a lot. It's so deliberate and eerie.
Well shot. Yeah.
Really well shot. Yeah, that driving up the car to the front. I like that tracking shot. I think it's cool. And they go inside and you find out there's chaos, and then he fucking shoots a fucking kid.
And that's bad enough, but they're so sinister that I'm gonna go check out. They're so fucking casual about it.
It makes them creepier.
And it makes him creepier. It totally does. They're so casual about it. And then when the other dude goes in first, all right, when the younger guy comes out, he straightens the lawn chair in front of their room, which is so weird. And then when he goes inside, he flicks a cigarette butt. Here, have my DNA. I don't give a fuck. Goes inside, just touches.
Yeah, he's touching everything.
Touching everything. These guys just don't give a fuck. And they're so they are the scariest part of the movie. And I'm always a little bit sad that they die so early.
Yeah,
because they're terrifying.
And you get even with 2-3 lines of dialogue, this little history of the two characters and the dynamic. And Cronenberg doesn't have to spoon feed it to you. Yeah. It's just very subtle.
Yeah.
When I first watched this movie, I thought they were part of the mob. And now I realize that's not what. No, they're just these two road killers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And they just roll into town and violence just stumbles into his life.
Yes,
and he has to deal with it. Right.
So that's what Cronenberg's saying. Joey, you can get rid of Joey all you want, but this fucking violence is going to find you. It's just kind of a magnetized type of I don't know, sense of violence. Violence begets violence, blah, blah, blah. I wish that maybe they just cut that part out entirely, because I don't know if it needs to be in the film, because it just leaves me wanting more, like you said. So
what part?
You mean the two killers is cut them out entirely?
Yeah,
well, for one, they're the catalyst of the whole movie. And for two, I find them super compelling, really solid acting.
I do too.
It's again, I mean, so the first act is probably the best act. Second act is maybe the second best act, and then the third act is the third best act. Well, I mean, I don't know. The second act is maybe it's possibly better than the first act. I mean, the first act and the second act are really, really strong. And part of the reason the first act is so strong is because of those guys. So you take them out, and to me, I feel like you've kicked you've kicked it out from the feet out from underneath the movie.
Okay, that's fair.
Ooh.
I also was thinking about Ed Harris. Did you guys watch that video I sent you? Did anybody?
Yeah, there's no context. He just fucking flips out. I don't know. Well, he's an intense dude. I've seen interviews with him. He gets very intense.
Oh yeah, banging on the table and stuff.
Bizarre.
Yeah, it's from TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival. And
yeah,
it's a press conference for this movie, and they're asking him questions. All of a sudden, he says, "Bang on the table," throwing a glass behind him, and it's just like, "All right, that's it, everybody." And it's like, wow.
I mean, this is a guy who idolizes Jackson Pollock, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, to me, it's always baffling that William Hurt was the one nominated for this, because I think Ed Harris is really fucking fantastic in this movie.
Of course he is. It's fucking stupid. It is. This nomination is the textbook definition of Hollywood propaganda, selling and promoting, trying to get someone nominated, because it's so not deserved, in my opinion, at all.
I mean, I'm so entertained by Bill Hurt in this, but if you take away the atmosphere created solely by David Cronenberg in this wonderful script, this character Richie might as well be in like Mickey Blue Eyes. I mean, it's like Doofusville, Wisconsin, and like very cheesy and just like weird and dumb, and yet the nomination comes through.
To me, it's not even so much that like it's not a super worthy performance in that it's so jarring when you have Ed Harris's performance in the same movie. Like if Ed Harris wasn't in that movie and then Hurt got nominated, be like, oh, that's kind of like he must have made someone happy that year. But like to have Ed Harris like just like putting like Ed Harris is a great actor. And this is maybe, I mean, arguably, I think this might be the best performance of his career. It's certainly in the top 3, and for him to not get nothing, like it just seems, it's like, what the fuck is going on here?
He sets the tone for the darkness and the brooding kind of intensity. I mean, sure, the guys who were the killers at the beginning, they're definitely setting a tone too. But he's so likable almost. Which is so odd. I kind of like this guy. I'm like, I feel bad for this guy. His eye got fucked up because I don't know. I mean, if he wasn't trying to kill me, I'd kind of hang out with him. He does crosswords. Seems like a pretty intelligent guy. Just relaxing in the backseat.
Like absolute venom to me. He's so scary.
A walking pestilence.
Yeah, when the cop comes up to him, it's like trying to like kind of like lean on him. He's just like so like fucking unconcerned, like rolling the window up, like I don't care. I'm a fucking murderer. I murder. Have a day.
Yeah. And that's the whole reason I love his character and that chunk, because again, Cronenberg, he doesn't need to like spoon feed this. It's on the news, so they just arrive and things start going down. There's not this big thing out of it. You'll notice there's not a huge Howard Shore score in the background. It's just what would happen. They show up because they saw it go down and they say, get in the car, we're going to fucking deal with this. It's not this triumphant orchestral narrative.
Well, speaking of Howard Shore,
point.
Sorry, but speaking of Howard Shore, what do we think of this score? I mean, like Howard Shore tends to overdo things, and I felt like you're right, Eric. I mean, he didn't here. He actually was pretty restrained.
You're right.
But it's almost weird that it's him.
It does seem odd. When I saw his name pop up on the screen, I was like, did Cronenberg seek him out for this particularly, or did someone like force him to take him on or something? It seemed odd to me. It was odd to see his name on the screen. The performances. I mean, like the music is not bad. It is a little overwrought, like his stuff usually is. Certainly not memorable, but maybe it's not trying to be. I don't think Cronenberg would want that to be the case either, though. The way he does things.
It's an interesting team up. I wouldn't have ever expected it.
I agree, but I think they worked well together, and I got no beef with it. It's rock solid. I agree. It does work, but I want to ask you guys about the fact that Joey is supposed to be this hardcore motherfucker, right? Right?
Yes.
And they just kind of casually like ease into the situation when Fogarty and the crew arrive. They're just like, hey man, all right, hey, give us some coffee. Oh, you're not Joey? Okay, we'll see you later. And they start following around and being annoying, follow the daughter around to the mall, and don't forget your shoes. And then like they finally kidnap the son and bring him up. It's like, hey, look who we found, which I love, by the way. These buddy with that guy. It's so funny. It's such a dumb shot. Hey, all right, kid, I'm gonna kill you. And but this is a hardcore motherfucker, and they know that. But they're still like being kind of. I would be like trigger finger, like freaking out. Like this guy is someone we cannot give any breaks to. We can't be lenient with in any way, and they are in that situation, and I find that to be a problem.
I agree, but I do have a little bit of a counterpoint, which is that I think that they overplay their hand when it comes to threatening his family. I think that they get real cozy and comfortable thinking that he's not going to pull any shenanigans because of his family. The kids are right there. The wife's right there. Like he's not going to do anything. In fact, he'll come quite peaceably with us, and so peacefully that I can turn my back on him because I trust that he's not going to do anything to endanger his family. But actually he does. When he makes the choice to kill them there, like he doesn't know that Jack's gonna step up and save his life. Like pretty much things would have gone real south. You think his family and kids would have survived that afterwards? You think they would have left them standing? Fuck no. It was a terrible call not to go with them. Either you go with them in the car and you kill them later, or you let them kill you and you don't put your family in that position.
I never thought about that. Yeah. Travis, you're right. And Mike, I agree that this was the real fucking Irish mob knowing what they know about Joey. They wouldn't have telegraphed their appearance like that. Tom would have walked out of his restaurant and a bag would have went over his head. They would have stuffed him in the car and not even fucking played any games. It is odd how they try to convince him to go.
Yeah, your point's fair, Travis, but yet that's a good point too. Still, both of them. I see both.
Yeah, and ultimately for Richie to call him up and be like, "Hey, come see me," like, "Oh, okay." Like that's all you had to
My
do.
truck.
I mean, he had to be pushed against the wall where he'd be like, where he had like. It's
That's
like,
the
okay.
whole thing too, and that's why I agree. The third act, while super fucking entertaining, great fight sequence, is kind of like a big question mark for me. There's not much. You got Richie, who's not that intimidating or scary as a villain as he should be, in my opinion. And you got Tom casually just like, oh well, better go deal with this. Like he's about to go back to Kohl's and return some jeans that don't fit. There's not much tension.
Stop by Costco on your way back, Tom.
You know what I mean, though? There's not that much tension. Like, you watch something like The Godfather, when Michael Corleone's in the restaurant, and he knows what he has to do, doesn't really want to do it. He's got to kill, Salieri, whatever it is. Yep. There's so much tension. He has to do something. He doesn't want to. He doesn't know if he's capable of it, and he does it. And you can't handle it. This might as well be going to Kohl's to return some pants.
Dude, if you want tension,
I said, coffee!
That's tension.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you. This is partly why I do have some issues with the third act, and I always have. Like, it just kind of, I mean, it doesn't slump. It is still good, but it's a little anticlimactic because by the time he gets in the car and starts driving there, you're like, well, okay, so he's going to go there and he's going to fight the guy, and he's probably going to win. Yeah, and that's what happens.
That's the game.
Right.
Well, wrap it up.
So like the last half hour or so is like, there's not a lot of surprises in there. Now I do think that I think that John Wick, for instance, might be a little bit influenced by Tom Stahl. I think that there's some stuff going on there. I can't remember when Bourne Identity was. That was more like 2001, I think, right? But but still, there's something going on here that while the action sequences would maybe not be as thrilling as they were, like they were a little bit more exciting than some of the moves that he pulls and like the ways that he turns things around on them and kills. Like he's so good at killing people, Joey. It's a little less thrilling after seeing movies like John Wick, but I think that there's an influence there.
You bring up two really good comparisons because in both of those, there's internal conflict about who those characters want to be in the present and who they have to come to terms with their past. Here, Tom doesn't really have to resurrect Joey in order to do what he needs to do. It's just, he's like, all right, better go deal with the situation.
Let's talk about the high school storyline. With the child, the son, and the bully. He hits that fly ball to deep right field, and the kid caught it. You piece of shit! You caught the ball I hit. You're fucking dead.
Well, it's not even like a game. It's a gym game. It's a nothing.
I know.
Game.
Gym. It's sports, like period.
It's more racket sports and Miss fucking Jagfeld's class beating off. Nobody gives a shit.
And I love that the bully's name is Bobby. Of course, your name is Bobby.
Perfect. It's got to have an E on it. Yeah, I buy that.
Cronenberg's idealized Americana, threat in America's high schools. Bobby's trying to fuck you.
Is this just another parallel of the storyline? It's like, well, the son who's going to be a vengeful and kind of violent reckoning of his own father, but doesn't know it yet, and he's coming to that point? Or is it more of just like, hey, he was always a sweet boy, but your violent tendencies, even if you tried to get rid of them or not show them in any way, they still reveal themselves.
Well, what do you think of this? Because let me ask you a question and to answer your question. What do you guys make of Jack's first reaction to Bobby and his buddy harassing him, like his conflict avoidance? The F word gets thrown around a lot there, and obviously that's very ugly. But
that's what they would do, though. I'm not surprised.
It is realistic for a high school, sure. But regardless of that, what do you think of of how he handles that situation? Is it the right call, or is he cowardly, or what? What do you think?
I thought he was trying to diffuse, not be cowardly, and trying to accept his place. Like, there's a bit of fear, and he's obviously overwhelmed because everyone's against him. But I think it was almost too methodic and too mature for the kid that he's supposed to be. Like, the dialogue would almost seem like it came out of an adult.
Yeah,
that wanted a teenager to say that for once. But I didn't know if I bought it. But
a bit too clever. But I see that they're trying to make a point that sometimes there has to be violence in order to handle the situation. But yeah, for me, it's just a little too clever, and there's not much of a threat. He seems like he can already handle himself. So if you have a bully in a movie, you got to have the kid not be able to handle himself off the bat.
I think that's part of the point, is that he can handle himself in a way. He swallows his pride and kind of, but like ends up making everyone laughs at the bullies, and he actually handles the conflict avoidance really, really well. And comes out on top, and nobody gets hurt, and he doesn't get in trouble, and everything's fine. And he does that in part because he's his father's son. And like, as soon as his father does what he does at the diner, like everything changes for Jack. And suddenly, and all Tom did was protect himself and the people that he worked with and cared about.
Yeah, Charlotte. He saved Charlotte's life.
Right. He wasn't
so happy about that.
He wasn't being he wasn't being. He was violent, but he wasn't like enjoying the violence. But then Jack immediately, like, he gets carried away, and he's like making Bobby bleed on the floor and stuff. So like, there's something going on here about, like, once again, a movie about fathers and sons, and
father and son,
and we do it all.
But his reaction there, Travis, it doesn't work. Bobby just gets more pissed. So while while his comments to him are admirable as a way to turn the other cheek, it doesn't work.
Yes, it does. They don't fight the first time. What are you talking about?
But Bobby plans to kick his ass, quote unquote, later. I mean, it's not done.
I love that when they pull out and then they run into the two serial killers and they're like instantly terrified.
Like,
I love that. I mean, it was a little unrealistic that somebody had that instant effect. Yeah, I don't want to know. Let's get out of here.
I like the kid's storyline, especially I like the portrayal from the poor kid's Jesse Eisenberg. I haven't seen him since, but he's pretty good. My problem is
poor kids.
The problem for me is after all this goes down and the fight happens, he sends the kid to the hospital. The kid kind of checks out of the story. Like, we don't really get a reaction from, like, when all is said and done. Like,
yeah, that's enough. Like, we got the gist.
Do you think so? Like, they're not scared of him. They don't admire him for what he did. There's nothing really said there about the consequences of what he did.
This is a good time, by the way, to bring this up as candidate for White People the Movie. There's absolutely
nothing will ever beat Dead Poets Society.
This is close. I mean, this is certainly Indiana White Bread Festival, so it's up there. I think it's up there. The high school is completely white, which it probably would be because this is Indiana. Indiana sucks.
You're right. I mean,
no offense.
I've got 4 black students. I live in Indiana, in a small town, so times have changed. But I also live in a small town in Indiana, and we have more than just one cop.
Do you know his first name?
Yeah, Sam. Come on over. Have a piece of pie.
I can't. Call Sam.
So pie is a big part of this movie, by the way.
So we haven't talked about Maria Bello. We haven't talked about the relationship between them two. Mike is immediately done with this because the beating heart of the movie just bores Mike to death. Apparently,
it does. I'm just not a fan of her work. I don't know. Something about her is like whatever. Okay, she tries too hard.
I like her in the movie and I like her work. I like her as an actor. But remove that from the situation. What about forget about her performance. What about like the role that she plays and all that? Like, I mean, like it matters to the story, right?
Well, tell me what that role is.
Well, I mean, to me, it's a really great love story. I buy their love. I buy the fact that she feels like she really knows him. Okay, let me get down to really where I really want to go with this. There's 2 of the most graphic sex scenes in cinema history that I can think of. I mean, there's fucking 69ing in this movie, and you don't get that in many films. Let's be honest.
Not in mainstream movies, no.
Right? And both of these sex scenes are a tad excessive, right? Like it's like, okay, you could have cut cut. Go ahead, Vigo. Get your dick out or put your dick away. What are you doing? Things definitely.
He loves showing his dick. He does it 2 years later in Easter Promises.
Right. So there's definitely there's a little more that needs to be there, but the first sex scene I actually think is really, really sweet. I think it really it shows a lot about both sex scenes show a lot about their relationship, I guess is where I'm going with this. And you get a good sense of she'll lie for him. She will stand by his side for all kinds of stuff. And that final shot between them when they're looking at each other, I find that incredibly powerful. If they didn't have that to wrap the movie up with, I don't think the movie would work at all.
Okay.
But Yeah, I do think that I think that both of these sex scenes, they show like the innocence of their marriage originally, and then like I don't like that he chokes her, the second time, but like when they're on the chair on the stairs rather, and like it's really like rough and tough and graphic
Yes.
again, and she fucking just like throws him, like she's so done with him, she like throws him off to the side, like, oh fuck
It's
you.
like
I'm so
rape
mad as shit.
fantasy. It is like, it's a rape fantasy. It's set up that way. It looks that way from the third outside viewer, and I don't like it. I'm like, why? Why though?
Yeah, it gets a little, again, like I don't like that he grabs her by the throat, but he goes to pull away, like he gets her like he gets her in a position, then he goes to pull away, and then she grabs him by the face and pulls him back in. So it's like it's very much like okay, but no, you're right. It starts off like you're like it seems really out of character for Tom, even for Joey, like to be like you're mine. I'm gonna grab you by the throat and make you do this. Like it's
Yeah.
I don't
want Joey. You're gonna get all of Joey. All of like what?
Yeah, I don't care for that either. But other than that aspect of it, I do like how it shows that like she will stand by him even though she's fucking really mad at him, but she's still going to be in love with him, and I think it's really well done.
Yeah, when he gets shot and he's at the hospital after the Fogarty situation, they have that discussion about even their own fucking name. Stahl, where'd you get that name? Stahl, our kids, and
Right,
she's
right.
furious, and
Oh my
she
God.
throws up. She goes to the bathroom.
I
and
love
pukes.
that.
It's very honest because
Yeah.
this is the type of truth. I mean, her world is crumbling. We have our own realities. If somebody walked in and said, "You're not Govier," I'm like, "What?" And I'd be like, "Oh my God!" And if I was shown proof of that, and it would just like, I don't know what I would do. I'd,
Right.
I'd
Throw it up.
probably
Is it-
throw up. Yeah, right on the
Natural
carpet here. But I actually fast forward the sex scenes because I'm like, I don't care. I definitely was like, boop, 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 boop. Anytime between them, I'm fast forwarding, except that scene when things start to rise, when the tension starts to build up. Then I'm in. I just didn't like the boring family life. All right, yeah, I've seen this. Set the tone. The family's cool. Everybody's happy. I was fast forwarding a lot of that. Hey, kid, have a good day at school. Hey, it's just baseball, son. Don't worry about it. Fast forward, fast forward, fast forward.
I actually like that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just,
great.
hey, you guys are sick fucks, and that's fine. I'm not the sick fuck. So
Why are we $6?
I don't know. I don't even know what we're talking about now.
I think you need to turn your sugar mode on.
I'm a hostess cupcake and appreciate the fact that first love scene is establishing the
Role playing?
perfect balance of their emotional
Part of it.
bond. I mean, the
Role playing's cool,
69
yeah.
is like a perfect representation of the balance of their emotional bond. So when that's, forgive me, but juxtaposed with a violent sex they have at the end, it's showing you visually the breakdown of
Vision.
the marriage and the characters. I mean,
Right.
I think it speaks volumes.
Well
It's
put.
multi-leveled, if you'll excuse the pun, with the stairs.
I got no beef with that. I just want to get like. That's just me. That's
Without
fine.
his
That's all I
family,
do.
what the fuck is at risk here? What are we even watching or caring about for? Like, if
Well,
there's
why don't you talk about the kid then? Because you had some things to say about the son and his acting.
no, not
What's
the son.
going on, Dad?
No, I
Is that
wasn't
what you're talking about?
No, I was talking about the little girl that gets shot in the beginning. The little girl, like,
Oh.
yeah, it's fucking terrible. Like some of the worst child acting we've discussed on this show. We've got a lot of really shitty child acting. But
We
what I'm
have
saying.
ripped a lot of child actors on
Yeah,
this show.
but that's why I'm glad that like it's just a little girl that gets shot.
When she hands him the potatoes, can we get another take, sweetheart? Jesus Christ. Fire this kid.
Oh yeah,
I feel like
and his little
isn't
girl,
she
yeah, she's not a great
somebody
actor.
too? Isn't she like a current actress? I feel like I recognize her
no.
face.
Yeah,
I'll have
that's
to look
Laura
that up.
Dern. That's Laura Dern's little clone. Like they spliced her off.
Little
and-
Dern.
Little Dern.
Okay. All right. Okay. So
why
let's
you
talk
were-
about that. Let's get to the Richie and Joey thing then.
Hold on, Mike. Can we talk about how 3 people are killed on Tom's lawn and the sheriff laughs off the circumstance?
What happens there?
I never noticed this in
Like,
this
is
last
there a
viewing.
cleanup? Do they throw them in the
fucking
cornfield or something?
The sheriff goes to Tom's house. He's like, well, we understand that some shit has gone down, Tom. I need some answers. And he's like, we've been through enough. And the sheriff's like, I'll be goddamn. And just leaves. 3 people are dead.
Take care now.
You're right. Yeah. Hey, thanks for the pie.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and agree with you on that. But also, I'm thinking from Sam's perspective, like this is all right. Like for one, the 2 guys, like
job,
the
Sam.
2 dead bodies that Tom already killed earlier. This is the biggest thing to ever fucking happen in this town, hands down. And then right after that, 3 more dead bodies
Yeah,
by the
5
same
deaths.
fucking guy.
Evan
His
Cole
son
has
killed
less
someone
deaths
now.
than
Right, who
His
he
son
did-
is a murderer.
Well, he probably doesn't know that. I'm sure that they probably.
Well, not a murderer, but he's kicking a life now. That's gonna fuck him up forever.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Won't be
Absolutely.
investigated.
But like, I'm just talking about from Sam's perspective. I don't think that he would know that necessarily. But at any rate, like there's 3 dead bodies for him to deal with again, and it's the same fucking guy who he just cleared like 2 weeks ago or whatever, a week ago.
Yeah.
From his perspective, like how much easier is it to just be like, well, this is cut and dry case. Like these fucking Philadelphia Mafia guys, they were threatening him. This is over. Like, please God,
I'm gonna leave this to the deputy.
Yeah, let Tom Stahl stop killing people. This is so much paperwork.
Is it? So the kid, when he kills, I wanted to mention that real quick. The fact that his son takes a life is a huge turning point in that kid's life forever. I don't give a shit. You can't minimize it and you can't reduce it in any way. That's a huge thing.
And how does it affect him, though?
So this goes back to what you said a little while ago, Eric. I'm going to give you credit because you said, "What didn't we need more of that?"
He's just cracking
story
jokes with his girlfriend. He's not even affected by this murder.
Yeah, that would just. It's possible that you can. So, okay, think about the own tragedies I've experienced in my life. Initially, sometimes you're just like, you just continue forward and you don't really absorb it. So it can be a delay and maybe it'll be something
sure.
Yeah, so
he's fucked up for life, let's be honest.
Yeah, oh yeah, no argument here.
Shot a man in the back. He's never going to feel the same about himself.
But the fact that he's willing to do it, because not every kid could do that. I don't think it's so cut and dry that, hey, any son would do that for their father to save his life. Because it's a huge thing. Even if you love your father, you're terrified. That kid should be like shitting his pants. But he has the resolve and the steely nerve to fucking do it. And I'm just curious what you guys think about that.
Well, that's partly why the fight with the bully is a necessary scene as well, to see that evolution in Jack.
And I mean, come on, we gotta be all film analytical here and talk about the title. I mean, Joey has a history of violence because he has a propensity for, is that a word? Propensity for violence, whereas the kid doesn't. So it's showing you're either going to have a natural tendency towards violence or it's going to be learned behavior.
Well, isn't that's like the whole nature and nurture thing that's like going on here, though, right? Like, I mean, I think the movie's arguing that like it's more nurture than nature.
Is it?
I think so, because I mean, you get that's what I'm saying. Like he starts off this movie with conflict avoidance and using his brain to do it in his words.
Oh yeah, you were setting that tone earlier. That's true.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know if the movie really had a point, or if it just kind of lets things happen. Because sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes movies just like, here, you guys. That's what we're doing here. We're analyzing it and making our own opinions. But let's quickly talk about William Hurt and how things go towards the end here. Do we want to give him credit? Do you guys want to kiss William Hurt's ass here? Fucking Thunderbolt Ross dominates, gets an Academy Award nomination for 10 minutes of bullshit. It's not even that good. And I'm going to stand on that hill. I love William Hurt. I love me some Body Heat. Let's go back. Let's take it back old school.
Remember The Doctor? Great movie.
The Doctor. Holy shit.
Good movie.
A Laserdisc?
Probably. So yeah, I like William Hurt quite a bit. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that the Academy Award nomination actually casts a shadow over this performance in a way like it detracts. Like it makes you more critical. Otherwise, I wouldn't think anything really of it. I'd be like, oh, it's good they brought in this recognizable and talented actor to wrap things up, to put a cap in this and make Richie, like it wouldn't make sense to like not show Richie or have Richie be somebody that like, some first time actor or something. Like you kind of expect some sort of big bad.
That's great, dude. That's a perfect, I couldn't have said it better myself. Eric, anything to add to that?
I mean, it's a humorous performance at a time where the film doesn't so much need humor and oddness, but more tension and some seriousness to resolve this conflict.
So you don't like it?
On this most recent viewing, I'm entertained by it, and I think it's humorous, but I think it's the wrong direction for the film.
I do like the keys. I like that whole key moment where he realizes that he's been locked out of his own house, and like he doesn't even try the knob because he knows how his house works. He knows that it's automatically locked. He's a fucking mafioso. He doesn't just leave his doors unlocked. So he's like scrambling to get the keys out, and then like immediately like, and like, they pressed foreheads together earlier, and then he shoots him in the forehead. It's like,
and it's got this weird humor to it. It's almost comical again, where it shouldn't be. It reminds me a little bit of Out of Sight. That last part in the house.
Oh yeah, that is, Bob shoots himself in the face trying to walk up the stairs,
and that's deserved because the tone of that entire film is hip and funny. That's not the case with this film. So for that direction is a little bit off-putting for me, but still.
Yeah,
fun
and
to watch.
it's also kind of humorous the way that he stops the Garrett wire and Hurt turns around and sees him and like, what the fuck? Like, you guys can't handle it. You're right. I mean, it kind of turns into some Keystone Cop shit.
By the way, didn't we do Out of Sight? That was our 6th episode, May 14th, 2020. If you'd like to go back and watch, or, well, not watch, we just did the podcast. Check it out, Out of Sight, episode number 6 on our podcast feed, which you can find on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. That'd be awesome. 5 stars would be cool. A review would be great. If you love the show, share it with somebody else. There you go. All right. So bottom line is Joey and Richie like to joke about strangling babies and strangling each other as babies, which was weird.
Not a thing that people actually do.
Yeah, I think that was exaggerated. I hear it's a thing that people do. I'm like, no, Richie. I don't think that is. I never experienced that. But it's time to cut the cord here, man. It's time to make a decision on, does this film hold up? 2005's A History of Violence, chosen by you, Eric Branstrom. You were off last week. Do you want to lead it off this week, or you want to wait?
Yeah, I think we've got a lean, enjoyable. There's no doubt about it. This movie is absolutely entertaining. Thriller from a legendary filmmaker. For me, the heart of the film is its themes of forgiveness, and that comes into play in terms of the Tom Stahl character and his wife Edie. That last scene, not one fucking word of dialogue. You don't need a single syllable of dialogue. It says it all. I am this person. I cannot escape my past. Can you forgive me? Am I allowed back into this family? Can we be forgiven for the awful things we've done in life? I don't know. The movie doesn't bother answering it. God bless it for not trying to do so. We got a really fun movie with a great script. I think Josh Olson was nominated for an Oscar for his lean screenplay.
It's really fun.
It's fun. Ed Harris just fucking destroys it. Like I said, he's just this disease that stumbles into town and demands something from this character. A fun movie. I still really fucking enjoy it. It holds up for me.
There it is. I'll go next. So, A History of Violence is a film by David Cronenberg, in case you didn't catch the beginning of the podcast and you just happen to be jumping in for some reason, which is not a radio show, so it's unlikely that would happen. I think this movie is kind of bland at times, which sucks. It kind of drags ass for me. I already explained some of my fast forwarding through some of the happy good times, the Tom Stahl glory days with his family, living life before they all knew who he really was. But still, the tension's strong. Ed Harris is fucking killer. So good. It's like a legendary character. I want you, Eric, to do like a drawing of him, and I want to put it up on a wall in my house. I would love to have that guy with no sunglasses and that fucked up eye. It's so much about his character is fascinating, and I would love to see a spinoff like the Fogarty Files. That'd be a great show somewhere. Seriously. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It was alliteration. Sorry. I'm still torn. I see the positives in this movie, and Cronenberg is a master of, he's not being a moralist in this movie, and I got to give him a lot of credit for that. And I think that's probably why I'm going to say this movie holds up, because he's not trying to shove some type of agenda down my throat. He's giving you things. He's showing you violence. He's giving you scenes. He's giving you repercussions of actions and consequences and things of that nature, and the connections between violence and how it can kind of draw itself to other types of violence, which is interesting. So I'm going to say it holds up. It's still, I don't know, it's a little tough for me still. I still think it's kind of bland at times, but if you ask me today, I'll say this film holds up.
Okay.
All right. I'd like to bring up one quick moment that I didn't really stress before in the film, which is after Jack shoots Fogarty in the back, and again with the wordlessness, this just exchange of like, where he might even be angry with Jack, you don't even know like how he's going to respond, and he holds him in that embrace. It's like, and the look on his face, there is some flaws in this movie, like Bobby's whole performance, for instance. There is some flaws in this movie, but there are so many moments like that are just transcendent, that are just really, really strong. Ed Harris should have been nominated for this. I think of his performance in Just Cause, I don't know that, and Just Cause is not half the movie that this is. So I don't know. This really probably is probably the best thing he did. Maybe Jackson or Pollock, maybe, but I definitely am gonna go and watch some of the more recent stuff because he's been working. I've missed a lot of his more recent stuff. I liked him in Run All Night. I thought that was a pretty decent movie.
Appaloosa.
Yeah, I still haven't caught that one, so I probably should. Oh, maybe I did.
Places of the Heart. I think you'd like that a lot.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to jump in and catch on some of see what Ed's been up to because I think that he's a really, really talented actor in this movie. Reminded me of that. So ultimately, yeah, this movie when you said that you that you chose this, I was stoked, but also it was something that I never even considered choosing for this podcast because I knew exactly how I felt about it. I feel the exact same as I've always felt about it, which is that it holds up, that it's a hell of a good movie that's got its flaws. It kind of it dwindles as it goes on a little bit, but god damn, is it entertaining as fuck. It flies by. It's some of the best gore I can think of in a film,
legitimate gore.
Yeah, just really well done, tasteful gore. So yeah, holds up.
There it is. I think this says it best.
I said, coffee!
I should have just said that. I should have said nothing and just said done that. But hey, I didn't think of it at the time. Anyways, there it is. History of Violence. It's in the can. Another one in the books. 46 episodes of Cinema 9 podcast. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. Maybe we'll do a big 1-year anniversary show where we'll, I don't know, we'll have a big party and we'll just we'll do a clip show. Let's do a clip show.
Sit on the couch. Hey, remember that one time you...
We could do that. You could play video on this thing. It would be so dumb. Yeah, we'll just sit in our lounge chairs, drinking beers. Like, hey, check this out.
Remember when you lied about not seeing Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Oh, Steve Laskowski, thank you. Great show, gents. Thanks, Steve. We love you. Love you, Steve. Glad to know you're out there. All right, Cinema 9 Podcast at protonmail.com, Cinema 9 Pod on all the top-notch, first-rate social media platforms that do not have any negative impact on your own personal health. Don't worry. And, of course, next week's show will be the same thing, episode 47. I will choose a film now, I believe, right? I'm choosing a film. Is that correct?
You're out, buddy.
Yep, you're going to let us know right now. And then 2 weeks from now, we'll have guest host Derek Fern, who we need to touch base with to make sure that he's ready to do this. But that's the order of things.
Great. Derek Fern's up next. He's going to be very happy about that. And I talked. Oh, by the way, speaking of guest hosts that'll be coming up, Steve Paulo, who we talked about, is going to have on the show too. He'll be one of the guest hosts after Derek. He's changed his mind. Right. He risked, after watching one of our episodes, he changed his mind because he was locked in on The Rock. He was locked on The Rock, but after watching the Rules of Attraction show, he said it made me think about the movies I really, really love, and I don't want to give a fuck about what anybody else thinks. So he made his own list of like his top 30, and now he's going to reformat it. So I thought that was cool that it made him think. So
that's great.
Okay, there's no dragging out here. I know exactly the movie that we're going to do next week, and that is Bottle Rocket. We're doing Wes Anderson. We're finally doing it.
All right, good call. We had to do Wes Anderson at some point, and this makes sense.
Perfect pick
to be the one. So good
Bottle
call.
Rocket.
Good call.
Yes,
great call.
I cannot wait to break this one down with you guys because it's so dumb but so funny. It's so interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be great. We're gonna have a good time next week. We'll do Bottle Rocket, and you can watch the show and follow along with us by watching Bottle Rocket over the next 7 days. We would love to have you join us, and you can listen to the show on all standard podcast platforms. 5-star rating, not just the rating, but the review where it says, Travis, Eric, and Mike are really good at talking about movies. Something like that would be really nice. It would boost the signal and expands our reach, and we can connect with more people and have more guest hosts on. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll have Richard Roper on the show. Who's to say? Or Desson Thompson. That would be the ultimate get.
Ultimate dream.
Desson.
Yes, Desson is definitely that's the ultimate dream, to have Desson Thompson on the show before we die. So, all right, I think that's it.
We did it. Great show.
Right. I think we should end every show talking about Desson.
You think we should? Really? I don't know if he would allow that though. Like we don't want to make him sound like he's that cool. I mean, he's cool, but he's not like the coolest dude ever. So.
Well, I got his face tattooed on my left shoulder last week. What? You don't like him? I love Desson. I'm always about Desson. So good show, everybody.
Great job.
We'll see you guys next week.